Welcome to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
Hello everyone, Captain Rick Murphy and myself, Brie Gabrielle, are back on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report for another week of fishing in Florida, and man, do we have an awesome show for you tonight. But Rick, before we go any further, we have to welcome Captain Harry.
What?
Hey.
It's great to be back, gang. You know,
Good to have you.
I miss being here, but
it's been a while.
It's been a while. We got some really cool tips on permit, catching
Tips
permit.
and tricks, I'm
both
sure.
To catch permit, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
Okay, well, moving on to the star of the show. Rick, permit is its name, and you're going to tell us its game.
Well, when we look at the saltwater sportsman pictures that they give us every week, the thing that I really love about the permit is how hydrodynamic, that's a big word for me, as you know, Brie,
It is.
how he's built. And what also is cool about him is he's got those big rubber lips so that when he eats crabs, which are his favorite food, they don't really hurt him too bad. More importantly, they love to feed by smell. Take a look at the big nostrils, and you're gonna hear the guys talking about him using crabs and shrimp to catch them.
So they gum them to death?
They gum them to death.
All right, starting us off tonight is Captain Ronnie Houston with a great weekend report from the Southwest region. Go for it, Ronnie.
Well, you know, Brie, it's always a pleasure to keep the wonderful people of the southwest coast of Florida informed on the fishing. And, you know, when it comes to the permit, we do things a little bit different on the Gulf side. We want to try to target these fish on wrecks, towers, and artificial reefs. Now, one thing you got to understand, depending upon how the winter goes and water temps start to warm up, you know, it could be as early as March when these permits start to show up, or depending upon the cold front, it could be as late as May for the water to start warming up for these fish to show up. But once they show up, you can catch them all through the summer, as right now with the wonderful weather we're having and getting out during the week, you can get out and find these fish. But a lot of patience is needed on waiting for the fish either on the surface or looking for them by drifting across or around the structure. Now, until they're located, you can run in numerous areas, and at times, giant schools can be caught on medium tackle. Now, understand, leaders vary from 30 to 60 pounds. Depending upon what type of structure. Now, if you're on top, chances are you'll need the heavier leader. If you're away from the structure and you can get them away, the lighter leader will suffice. But if you're anchored, the heavier leader. Now, the baits we're going to talk about, probably the best are the live crabs. And you can use either anywhere from a 2-0 to a 5-0 circle hook. You can use artificial shrimp. You can use live shrimp, 3 to 4 inch paddle tail swim baits, or a variety of bright colored pugtails. And fish can be caught anywhere 12 to 35 pounds, and actually with some bigger can be caught. But right now, permit fishing is good all through the region to get out and concentrate on the areas I've designated in my report. Now also, on the offshore report, the triple tails. Look for these fish around throughout the region on wrecks, head pins, beach swim buoys, abandoned crab traps, and floating debris anywhere from the beach line to 15 miles out. Also, fish have been spotted on the wrecks, especially with guys chumming for the mangrove snappers, right now north from Wiggins Pass to Stump Pass. Now, you can use small shiners, shrimp, bucktails will catch these triple tail. Also, reports have it that there are groups of triple tail traveling together. So once you hook one, especially if he looks small, leave them in the water. Just like dolphin fishing, you'll get 4 or 5, 6 more come up with them. But right now, the light westerly winds, opportunity right now is great for the triple tails. Now, before I go into my inshore report, we got an update on the CCA Star Tournament. Right now, we have over 3,200 registrations, but we still only have one winner and still waiting to give away the Hells Bay Waterman. Now, no tag reds have been caught since August 2nd, so the tournament is not over till Labor Day. Now, remember, it's not just a tag redfish tournament. There are other prizes in other divisions, and prizes to include bad boy buggies, stomp knocker boats, angle coolers, power poles, Costa glasses, and Hummingbird electronics and Minn Kota trolling motors. And still are over 100 tagged redfish still swimming around, so we still have several boat packages still to give away. Remember, you can't win these prizes if you're not a member and you're not registered, as you've seen in the last couple weeks, so get on board. Now, here we go into the inshore report. You want to concentrate on the tarpons right now. From Lossman's River to Lumber Key on the last half of the outgoing to the first half of the incoming on the outer Gulf edges in depths of 6 to 12 feet of water. And these fish are grouped up also traveling with threadfin schools. Once they're spotted, let them come to you. You're in those depths, get 10-foot power pole down, let these fish come to you. Be patient, don't chase them. Artificial lures, Bass Assassin Die Dappers and Houdini, Trickster and Gray Ghost will work. A variety of 4 to 6 inch swim baits, Lip plugs, 5 to 8 inch. Red and white has been a good choice on the plugs. 4 live pinfish, mullet, ladyfish are also working. These fish right now are anywhere from 70 to about 130 pounds. Still on the inshore side, the snooks. Catch and release right now with good tides. Water movement is important. From Galt Island to Panther Key, mangrove shorelines and independent islands. Remember, like I said, good water movement on points, troughs, and potholes along these areas. Live pilchards have been abundant on the outer beaches. Also, you can find them around diving birds, or you can see them on the grass fat, shining, or simply chum to attract them. Also, 3 to 4 inch lip plugs, small top waters, 3 to 4 inch paddle tails of white, chartreuse, chrome, or olive. Also, smaller ones, a lot of smaller fish mixed in. You can get some slides, some oversized snook. Remember, they're not biting every day. Have some patience. Work the pattern I gave you. Should be able to get out and get some snook. Have a good weekend.
Thanks for getting us started, Ronnie. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Florida Outdoor Experience hotspots from the Southwest region. Inshore redfish, Starvation Key to Hickory Pass along the east wall and independent islands on the last half of the incoming and the first half of the outgoing tide. And then offshore, mangrove snappers and yellowtail snappers, Gordon's Pass to Fort Myers Beach, 35 to 55 feet of water, fishing the wrecks and ledges for those snappers.
Okay, well, let's hear from Captain Jeff Hageman in the Yeti Northwest region, where we sure put our Yetis to use this weekend scalloping. That was so much fun, Hag, and thanks to the plantation on Crystal River for having us.
So we had a blast this weekend. We'll talk
We
about
did.
that a little bit more later. Permit, we've got them. Our bigger fish usually start showing up early April, sometimes in March, depending on the water temperature. I was just talking about that earlier. But we get our big fish, those 35 to 45-pound fish, we get them early. As the summer heats up, we start getting towards that end of April and beginning of May, we start getting that push of hot water. The tarpon starts showing up, and the big schools or the smaller permits start showing up in greater numbers. We're getting them around reefs, offshore wrecks, and any kind of structure out there, and anything from 30 feet of water on out. We also get them in the passes in my region, in that 15 to 20-pound mark. Crabs are the key. If you can get crabs, they're not going to turn it down. So spend the extra time, either go to the bait shop and buy them, go out on the moon, dip them up. They're worth having. Shrimp will work occasionally, but if you got a crab, that's what they want. 20 to 40-pound fluorocarbon leader and an 8-pound hookup jig or just a circle hook works great on those baits. A little tip, we fish a lot of structure when we're fishing permit in our region, so we're fishing stuff that they can get cut off on. I'll anchor up on my structure, cast back my crab and let them drift back in the tide, but I'll use a really, really light drag, and I'll have an anchor ball on my throw. And as soon as I hook up, I got a really light drag. That fish will make one long initial straight run, and usually they'll travel in packs. You'll get usually a double header, and you can drift off that wreck, get away from them, tighten your drag up, and you'll catch a lot more fish like that. Got a photo here of Kevin with one of my good clients, Kevin, with a nice permit we caught this last year.
That's a nice fish there, Hag. All right, what else you
Moving
got
on.
for me?
I got AJ's offshore right now. Right now, they seem to be in that 75 to 130-foot water in the lower half of my region right now. Fast-moving baits, either butterfly jigs, diamond jigs, pinfish. Beeliners work real well. Blue runners, anything that's fast. Threadfin herons, drop a fast bait down. They've been really picky right now, so you might need to downsize your leader when you're going after the amberjack. But there's plenty of them out there. Spend a little time, throw a little more chum out there, and work those baits really fast, and you'll get those bites. Right now, inshore, throughout my region right now, has been really good with the redfish right now. Get a little cooler water right now with all this rain we've been having in the lower, middle, and upper part of my region. We've been getting a lot of rain, so it's cooled the water off a lot. So with this little bit of cooler, you want to look in the deeper potholes. Oyster bars, grass flats are all holding fish right now. Lots of chum, cut bait's been working good. But first thing in the morning, mossbacks and that subwalk and the skitter walk is working really good. I know that subwalk's hard to find right now, but they used to make a great bait. Still make the skitter walk. You can use that one. Bass Assassin and the new penny is working good with a 6-aught weighted hook. Also, this weekend, I took Brie, like we were just talking about, Joe and Christina out for some scalloping with a good friend of mine, Mario Costello out of the Plantation Inn. Now, the water was a little dirty because we had a lot of rain. So we went out and we checked around a little bit. We got blown off the water because of the wind. But this week's all been lightening up with the wind. The rain's kind of gone away. So look for some great scalping this weekend, and you should be able to get your limits because the visibility is going to get better and better. You want to check that low tide, and I've got a photo here of the three of us out on the boat.
All right.
That was so fun.
That looks good. All right, I'm in there for next year. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the Drummond Community Bank hotspots from the Northwest region. Captain Jeff says inshore redfish bite throughout the region, remain strong on the top of the tide and use cut bait for bait. And then offshore mangrove snapper on the high relief structures in 10 to 50 feet of water use tail hook shrimp on a hookup jig head. Now guys, with me is Al Perkinson. Al, you're from Costa, obviously. You're my big boss over there. And you know what? You were here a couple years ago, and we were talking about the permit tagging program, and we want to bring everybody up to date as to what's happened in the last few years.
All right, that sounds great. All this permit footage, I'm ready to go permit fishing.
So Al, in the last couple years, we've tagged how many permit?
We have tagged about 1,100 permit, believe it or not.
And
that's
so
a lot.
How many recaptures have we gotten?
Well, we've only gotten about 18. So that's not as many as we would like, but it's told us some pretty interesting information anyway.
All right, so what did we learn? We were using ribbon tags and we were using the satellite tags, which are very expensive. What did we learn from all that?
Well, the ribbon tags, the 18 fish that we recovered them all about in the same place where we tagged them. So it doesn't look like these fish are moving around a whole lot.
Right.
We don't know where they go to spawn, but we do know that when they're not spawning, they're kind of staying in one place. We went to the satellite tags. We thought we could get some more detailed information, and the satellite tags ended up being bait for barracudas. And so the barracudas that came in and ate the satellite tags, we recovered them with teeth mark in them. And then one of them probably got eaten by a shark. He only pinged one time. So satellite tags, given how expensive they are, probably not the best choice. So we've gone to a new choice, and we think that's going to work even better.
All right, so let's take a look at the picture here. The new choice is an acoustic tag. Now this tag, from my recollection, is that it's about the size of a small battery. It's surgically put into the fish, like this being done here in the bonefish, stays in there for 2 years. And then what happens, Al? What is the difference in acoustic tag versus the satellite and the ribbon tags?
Well, you see a picture here of an acoustic receiver. And so when this fish that has a tag inside of it, a transmitter, swims past that, it pings, and we capture that data. We're putting about 50 of these in the lower keys, and then when our fish swim past those, we'll be able to know how they're moving. Also, other scientists have put those in for other types of fish. And so when our fish swim past those, we'll be able to capture that data as well. So there's a huge network of these receivers out there. If any of your viewers see the receivers, don't mess with them. They're really important to our science and to our research. But we think those are going to work much better. All
right, so tell us, Costa's got a little program with Bonefish Tarpon Trust. We got a website here. What are we doing with that?
Well, go to the website, sign up for the e-newsletter, and you'll have a chance to win a pair of Costas. And for anybody who captures one of the spaghetti tags, captures a fish with a tag on it, send it in, and we'll give you a free pair of Costas.
Sounds great. Al, thank you so much for what you guys do at Costa. Not only do you guys help us with all our conservation messages every week, but more importantly, you guys are a leader in conservation, and certainly get the plastic out of our oceans has been a big hit this year, and I want to thank you for that.
Thank you, Rick, for all your help, man.
All right, Brie, where are we going next?
Yes, we love you guys. Okay, anglers, we'll be right back on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report with your captain from the Southeast region, and then going off the deep end with Captain Harry. Why are you looking so crabby, Harry?
Little crabby.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Chevrolet. Find new roads. Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Contender Boats. Performance through innovation. Humminbird. Simply, clearly, better. The Florida Lottery. Just imagine. Decks and Docks Lumber Company. Florida's dock and seawall supplier. And King Sailfish Mounts. www.kingsailfish.com.
Nice! Chevy's got 3 great deals to choose from this summer. Which works the best with your budget?
I'm drawn to the 0%.
$1,000 cash back. I've never ever thought about leasing a car until I saw that deal.
Which one's your favorite?
0%.
$1,000 always looks nice going in my pocket.
Sorry, I changed my mind.
Now let me tell you something that's super cool. You can choose any one of these deals on any of these cars.
Seriously?
It's gorgeous, man.
This is a nice car.
Oh, I like the stitching.
It's an easy choice. Find your tag and choose your deal for an extra summer bonus.
Yeah, this thing's pretty sweet.
Yamaha's next generation V6 4-strokes are changing the game.
Mid-range power was awesome.
Fuel, the burn, it's unbelievable.
Couldn't believe the speed and the fuel economy is pretty impressive.
I mean, I couldn't believe the power. It was like it was more like doing a quarter mile on a drag strip.
And them things are like, it's a whole nother game. So I made the switch.
Experience the difference for yourself during the Yamaha Discover V6 Offshore Demo Tour. See why we call it the game changer.
It's been said that a bad day of fishing is better than a good day at the office. But down here in the Florida Keys, we have to disagree. Because with over 200 of the world's best charter boat captains and guides, there's no such thing as a bad day of fishing. The Florida Keys and Key West.
Now it's time for FWC News and Notes. August 15th, Cocoa Beach Boating Course in Port Canaveral. August 22nd, Women's Saltwater Fishing Clinic in Fernandina. Also on August 22nd, Pompano Beach Boating Course in Pompano. For more information, visit myfwc.com. Now it's time to go off the deep end.
Well, we got Captain Harry over here at the CCA workbench, and we're going off the deep end. Sometimes we find permit off the deep end in some of those wrecks. So, Harry, because of that, one of the rods that I really like to use, because you just never know what you're going to encounter, specifically when it's really cold, is that the fish show up on a lot of wrecks and shoals and whatnot. It's deep water. This Akuma 55 series reel loaded up with some Suffolks. Yeah, the Shadow Stalker. It's a 7-foot heavy action.
Gotta have heavy.
Yeah, because guaranteed you're not gonna hook a 15-pounder. It's gonna be a 40-pounder, and he's gonna kick your tush.
And he's gonna go right in the wreck. So you've got to have something with some backbone that's gonna stop that fish, and you're gonna win the battle on that.
Now we've heard the captains talking about crabs. You got a real cool trick.
Yeah, let me get you a little crab here. I brought some liveys. I brought dinner.
Oh, I like it.
Now, this is a kind of a cool trick. A friend of mine showed me a long time ago, and this puts the crab right on top of the water. We take the hook, circle hook, and get a rubber band, and we use a little bit of plastic on there. And we just take that and just slide it right over underneath there and get it underneath there. And we use a circle hook, and that keeps the crab right on top of the water.
Are you kidding me?
And he just sits there and splashes away, and and the tarpon and the permit just destroy it.
Dude, let me wait now. Whoa.
Yeah.
Just turn the cameras off. We want to keep this our secret.
Well, my friend that showed me this whole deal, he's going to be really mad at me. But the boys that bait him up gave me the crabs tonight to show me the difference on these things and how this works. But this is an old trick from a buddy of mine, and he's going to be furious when he finds out that I did that. And there's also another way.
Cool. I mean, that's like past cool.
Yeah.
That's capital cool.
All right, here's another way. If you don't have, that's just a koozie. That's all that is.
That's it. Just
and
a
what
piece
we do,
koozie.
Stay there, is we run a needle through the foam, and you cut whatever size that you're going to use. If you're using a real big crab, you're going to use the bigger foam because you want them to float.
Right.
So what we did also here is we took a wine cork and just a little zap, a little glue.
Right.
Put it right on top, and there you go with that.
You gave him a cap.
Yep. And
He
so
said,
then
I see the big C there. It's a Costa cap.
it could be.
I know.
It could be.
I'm seeing it.
Coastal wine.
Exactly.
Why not? So what a lot of guys do is they'll take a needle and they'll go through the body first before they do the hook. Because when you take the hook and just go through the shell,
right,
it dulls the hook out. So you don't want that to happen. So you're going to push that through.
Right.
That way you can put your circle hook through off the edge, and then you have another floater. Okay. Now, did you know the difference between?
I got this guy.
I'll let that guy go.
All right. So there's a difference, but what are you talking about? Difference?
Well, there's a difference between crabs. Let's get rid of this guy.
Okay.
Do you know the difference between a male crab and a female crab?
I don't.
Female crab has boobs.
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 You got boobs here?
No. See this fat? See how this is? Now turn your guy over.
Yeah.
Look at the bottom of the crab.
Oh.
See how this is a real fat piece?
Right.
A lot of times, this is the female and that's the male. A lot of times, this big piece, this big piece there will open up. And what's bad, when she gets out there and she's hooked or whatever, she'll open that up. And if she has eggs, see, that's where she has her eggs.
Right.
If that happens, she'll start spinning.
Right.
And you don't want the crab to spin. So you really want to use male crabs more than female crabs.
You know, we've been doing down in the Keys is those same rubber bands you got there. We use the clear ones.
Uh-huh.
And what we'll do is we'll take the rubber band, hold this one.
Okay.
We'll take a rubber band and we'll put the rubber band around the carapace here so that she can't make that thing stick out.
There you go.
So it's not very often that there's ever a time when we don't want boobs to be
hanging out,
sticking out, hanging out, whatever.
That's all right.
All right. Speaking of that, we're done over here hanging out, and Brie.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about just off the beach real quick?
Don't say anything,
We'll
Rick. I don't want to
talk
hear
about
what
that
comes
in a
out of your
minute.
mouth next. Oh my goodness. Okay, everyone. If you have permit pictures, we want you to post your best ones on Instagram or Facebook using the hashtag CFIFR, which is also Kafifer. Go do it right now. All right, and now on to the Southeast region with Captain Jimbo Thomas, who has the bite report for this weekend. Hey, Jimbo.
Hey, Brie. Hey, Rick. Hey, Court. How we doing?
He's not
Most
the outlaw this
fishermen
year?
think-
Jimbo,
What's that?
he's not the outlaw this year?
But he still is. We're just trying to change things up a little.
He's a friendly outlaw.
He's selling crab rolls.
All right, let's go.
All right, well, most fishermen think a permit as an inshore fish found on the flats, but there's plenty of them caught on the offshore reefs and wrecks. And regardless of where you're fishing for them, they can be caught year-round. In the spring, around the full moons of March and April, those permit will school up to spawn on the offshore wreck, anywhere from about 50 to 100 feet of water. And on the calm days, they can be spotted splashing or mooning near the surface. They're also commonly caught off the beaches and in the inlets throughout the region. But by far the most popular way to hunt permit is on the flats. And when the wind blows, pushing in lots of sargassum weed, those permit can be found along the edges of the flats and the channels, feeding on small crabs and shrimp that are holding in the weed. A lot of times if it's real calm, you can actually hear them popping in that seaweed. And then when the wind drops and the weed doesn't get pushed into the bay, that's when it's best to start looking for them tailing, mudding, or just cruising on the flats. Now you want to fish the flats that have hard bottom, that hold crabs, sea urchins, and other crustaceans that they feed on. And regardless of where those permit are found, best bait by far is a live silver dollar sized crab with a crab brawl. And then very rarely will a permit pass up a crab pass in its path. Also live shrimp, pink, 1/8 to 1/4 ounce skimmer jig, and crab pattern flies. Those are also great baits. Now Captain Joe Gonzalez, he says that the ideal permit fishing day is light wind in the morning to fish for those permit pushing wakes and spinning up on the flats, and then have the wind pick up to about 12 knots just before noon when the sun is high. And when the wind kicks up, the chop makes the glare go down, so it makes for some improved sight fishing. And lately, he's been finding permit on the inside and outside flats from Soldiers Key, South Angelfish Creek. He's been fishing the hard bottom oceanside flats in 2 to 4 feet of water. And then around the Ragged Keys, he's been finding schools of 7 to 12 pound permit on the incoming tide. I got a photo here. This is Adrian Sokoski with the permit caught in Biscayne Bay. He caught it several days ago with Captain Joe Gonzalez, and it was tagged with a permit, a project permit by Costa Del Mar tag. Now, staying inshore, if you want to do some easy inshore fishing by boat or foot,
There's been some great largemouth and peacock bass fishing in the Everglades, in the lakes, and the canal throughout the region. Even though we've had a lot of rain, the Everglades water levels are still relatively low in most areas, concentrating those fish in the deeper holes. The largemouth bite has been best in the early morning or late in the afternoon using live shiners, artificial worms, and crankbait. And then if you want to sleep in, the peacocks are biting best in the afternoon on small live bait and small Rapala lipless minnows and chartreuse, silver and black, and silver and green. And in the deeper water, DOA terrorize and root beer color have been getting a lot of bites. Look for both the largemouth and the peacocks in areas with clear water that has some current around the canal mouths, bridge abutments, or any other structure. Now moving out to the deep water, dolphin are still being found in decent numbers anywhere from 10 to 15 miles offshore, pretty much like it's been for the last month. The bulk of the fish are being caught around large patches of sargassum that are drifting through with the area. It's been drifting through for months now. And some of these patches have been extra large, like the size of a football field. And some of the fish are being caught around the weed patches on troll ballyhoo, feathers, and lures, or you can just simply stop, put out some live and cut baits, and drift around those grass patches. Now, if you don't have any live bait, there's been no shortage of the basically small blue runners hanging under those patches. They can easily be caught by dropping a sabiki rig underneath. And then if there's any dolphin in the area, the bait fishing promotion should bring them up. Now, most of the fish have been good-sized schoolies in the 5 to 8 pound range with an occasional larger one mixed in. And then we got the nighttime snapper bite is still going on very strong. There's plenty of mangrove snappers in the 2 to 5 pound range, although not as many as there was in the past weeks, but there's been a lot more mutton starting to show up. Any good reef bottom in the 40 to 80 foot range has been holding these fish. Try not to anchor right on top of the reef, but instead fish the outside edges where there's less coral to hang up on. And fish a knocker rig with just enough weight to hold bottom and a 1/0 to 3/0 hook on 30 to 40 pound mono or fluorocarbon leaders. Best baits have been cut bonita and sardines or live pilchers and goggle eyes. And more often than not, these pilchers and goggle eyes, they've been coming up in the lights around the boat. They can be caught on a sabiki and put back down for bait. And most of the larger fish have been eating these fresh caught live baits. And the best bite has been around 10 p.m.
All right, thanks, Jimbo. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the First National Bank of South Florida hotspots inshore. Get out on the flats of Biscayne Bay first thing in the morning and cast live crabs to the cruising and tailing permit, and then offshore fish dolphin with live and cut bait around the large patches of sargassum offshore.
Sargassum. Where are we running to next, you ask? Well, the Central, West, and East regions, of course.
Of course.
So keep your bails open and ready to cast. The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report will be right back. Oh, hear that, brother?
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. Blue Water Outriggers, everything for your outdoor adventures. Guy Harvey Clothing by AFTCO. Drummond Community Bank. Costa Sunglasses. See what's out there. And Casa Vieja Lodge. 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala.
Is it time to change your headlights?
Let it rip. These are on?
Don't go around in the dark. Get Wagner headlights at Bennett Auto Supply. You want the protection, performance, and peace of mind only Wagner headlights can deliver.
Do it.
That's what I'm talking about.
Bennett Auto Supply. Do it yourself, not alone.
I'm Captain Rick Murphy, and I'm a life member of CCA. Why am I so involved with CCA, you ask? Because I want our fisheries to be in better shape for my kids and their kids. CCA is working to ensure the future of recreational fisheries and the rights of recreational anglers. The future of fishing starts today with you. How do you want to leave things with your kids? If you're like me, you'll want to make the right choice and go to joinccaflorida.com right now.
Lodge, Guatemala.
There are 2 cages in this room. The one on your right is made out of high-strength steel, and the other is made of aluminum. Now I'm gonna release a 700-pound grizzly bear into the room, so you better pick a cage and get in it.
This is crazy. Oh my goodness. Ooh.
Why did you pick the steel cage?
Harder for the bear to get in the steel.
You want to see something else made with high-strength steel? That's the Chevy Silverado, made with high-strength steel for high-strength dependability.
Beautiful. This is highly irregular.
Okay, everyone, listen up. You could win a Decks and Docks makeover. The winner will get $2,500 worth of decking material covering 250 square feet. And Decks and Docks also wants to throw in $1,000 in additional materials. The contest is going on now through August 24th. All you have to do is sign up through our Facebook page, and the winner will be randomly selected and announced August 27th.
All right, let's go.
Let's go. I believe Chevy, hello. I have a Chevy now, so
I know
what's
you
happening?
do, and you know what? Towing is certainly a huge part of why we all own Chevy trucks. And when you own a boat and a truck, you need to know a few tips. Let's take a look and see what they got at the Chevy local dealer. You know, Ed, we talked last year about the other vehicles and their towing capacity. What do we got new this year?
You know, Rick, when we talk about towing, last year, we talked a lot about the 1-ton dually. You're able to tow, the 39 contenders, any of the really big boats. We talked about the 3/4 ton where you can tow a lot of great trucks, the 1/2 ton hauling some bigger boats. But here we're in the Colorado, and everybody thinks it doesn't have the capability, but you can tow up to 7,000 pounds with the Colorado. So you're getting your small John boats, your skiffs, really anything you need to do. And the greatest part of this midsize truck, the Colorado, is you can get a 4-cylinder, you can get a 6-cylinder. We've got the all-new diesel coming this fall, which everybody's been waiting for. So you get fuel economy in a midsize package of a truck, all the versatility, all the interior features that we talked about in the Silverado, here in this midsize package with the Colorado.
So Ed, the thing that I really appreciate about the Colorado is it has a big truck feel with having the cab and the bed. But more importantly, what about the warranties?
Well, obviously the warranties are class leading. We lead all of our competitors in our warranties, but the big thing is really the maintenance today. Where for the first 2 years, 24,000 miles, we are covering the maintenance on the vehicle for the consumer. So, the cost of ownership, again, you're buying the Colorado more for the cost of ownership with the fuel economy. So now you get the great package of the 24 months, get your oil changes, your tire rotations covered for you in those first 24 months.
Well, it sounds great, Ed. And the great thing about the Chevy truck lineup is that no matter whether you have a bay boat, big offshore center console contender, or a technical poling skiff, it sounds like Chevy has exactly what can fit your needs. So guys, if you have any questions about any of the Chevy truck lines, make sure you go to your local Chevy dealer or go online and check it out.
I love Chevy. Okay, hearing from a Chevy man himself, Captain Jeff Page is getting nervous on the line, ready to give his Central West Region report. Go, Jeff, go.
That's why I always say, get you a Chevy truck.
Chevy truck. I did. Woohoo.
All right, in the permits, we have a quality permit bite here in the Startron Central West region, and summertime, Rick, is probably the best time. My friend Captain Harrison Hodges out of St. Pete, Tampa area says big groups of permits. We're holding on wrecks and reefs in as close as 3 miles, but due to all the rain we had last week, and the dirty, or not just dirty water, but just the rainwater flushing out of the passes, he's been having to go out a little further, 7 to 15 mile range. But once you find that cleaner water, it's been pretty predictable. Captain Harrison likes to get out around 8, 9 in the morning when the seas are still calm, and he says sight fishing is usually the pattern that works, although sometimes if there is a chop, he'll just free float those crabs behind the boat. What he likes to do is he gets anchored up current of the structure, be it a wreck, be it a reef, and he floats those crabs behind his boat. He says the key when that water's so clean is to downsize on your leader, but not on your tackle. In other words, use a stout rod and reel, but maybe bump your leader down from, say, 30 to 40 pound down to 20 to 30 pound fluorocarbon. And he says the permits are averaging 15 to 35 pounds. Look for this action to continue right through September. I got a photo tonight of one of Harrison's clients, Peter Orthos, and his girlfriend, Zoe Bornase, with a nice permit they got with Captain Harrison last week. Species 2, mangrove snapper. Captain Jason Sherrill of Bad Habit Chargers says the mangs are holding in as close as 40 feet of water. Now that's a species that doesn't mind the rainwater. So the rainwater's actually moved the mangs in. Look for them on wrecks, rock piles, and ledges, live pinfish or pilchards, bait of choice, and it doesn't hurt to put a chum bag out or chum small pieces of pilchards that you cut out. Light 20 to 25 pound fluorocarbon on a small number 1 or 2 circle hook is the ticket. Rolling inshore, speckled trout. Rick, we have a really good speckled trout bite going on right now through the entire region with some fish in the 20, 27-inch class being caught. Most of the patterns that are working are the same everywhere. They're holding on the deeper grass flats in that 5 to 7 foot range. The tip, Rick, has been finding the cleaner water and a lot of bait pods on the cleaner grass flats. Some of the better flats to try are the flats off Turtle Bay and Devilfish Key down south, along with the flats off Emerson Point and Bishop's Harbor to the north. Live free-lined or cork pilchards or pinfish, or you can throw the Saltwater Assassin Elite Shiner in the 14-karat mama pattern on a 1/4 ounce hookup silver jig head. Got a photo tonight of a good client of mine, Big Mark. I forget his last name. I just call him Big Mark.
All right, what else you got for me inshore, Pop?
Redfish, schools of reds, mostly overslot, so they're not going to help us in the upcoming IFA tournaments. They've been invading the flats around Fort DeSoto and Tarpon Key. When the winds are down, look for the fish pushing on the flats first thing in the morning. If winds are up, set up on the mangroves on the higher tides or oyster bars, sticking your power pole down, casting live pilchards or cut ladyfish chunks up against the shoreline. I got a redfish photo tonight of me and Mr. Power Pole himself, Johnny Oliverio, with a nice red we got a few months ago. Real quick, Rick, a CCA star update. Yet another tagged redfish was caught by an unregistered angler.
Oh, all right, bub, we are to go ahead. We're going to go ahead and get to the Sea Sucker, Central West regional hotspots inshore. Jacks, bluefish, Spanish mackerels. Look for the birds over the bait schools around Long Bar and the bulkhead. Throw topwater plugs for some action. And then offshore, permit. Nice groups of permits holding on the wrecks and reefs in 10 to 15 mile range out and further out.
All right, coming to you from the Decks and Docks East region from Captain Mike Holliday with a report that might not be suited for you offshore permit seekers, but you should probably take that up with the sharks, right, Mike?
God, the sharks have just been a problem for a while. The summertime permit fish in my region hasn't been as good as it normally is in the last 2 years because of all the bull sharks on the wrecks, but there's still good numbers of fish close to shore. So that means places like the St. Lucie Power Plant outflow, the reef along Blowing Rocks, the Boiler Reef in Vero, and all the inlets from Stewart to Sebastian will get the fish on them. The big key for permit fishing in my region is to find clean water. Find the clean water, you'll find the concentrations of fish. And as we roll into August, the fish are still working their way north, but by mid-September, they'll be coming back south again. And if you're going to go permit fishing in my region, you don't want to leave the inlet without a dozen or so live crabs in a live well. You can fish the crabs on 30 or 40-pound fluorocarbon leader in either a 3.0 VMC tournament circle hook or a 3/8 ounce 4.0 Bass Assassin chartreuse-colored jig head, depending on whether the fish are feeding on top or on subsurface. In a pinch, a large live shrimp will work, and on the smaller fish, sand fleas and pompano jigs will work. The average permit in my region is going to be 12 to 25 pounds. I got a photo there. That's Grayson Wallace. He released that permit after we tagged it for the Bonefish and Tarpon Trust permit project permit, and that fish ate a live crab in the St. Lucie Power Plant outflow. The other bite we got going, snook season is still closed until September 1st, but August is when the largest fish of the year come into all the inlets in my region. They all have good schools of fish on them right now, but Palm Beach and St. Lucie inlets seem to have the most consistent bites on both tides. There's also been some huge fish caught off the Lake Worth and Juneau Piers and on South Bridge and Fort Pierce at night. Look for good fish along the beaches as well, particularly at the Hope Sound and Wildlife Refuge, and then also in Pepper Park and Martin and St. Lucie counties. For bait, go with big lures that look like a bait fish, like a dye dapper in the mullet colors, larger topwater plugs, larger lipless plugs. copper juice or Houdini-colored sea shads on a quarter-ounce jig head, and then always live pilchards, redfin, sand perch, and croakers. Those are always going to be your top baits, but we'll see the first push of mullet on this new moon coming up next week, so don't overlook a live finger mullet. Average snook in my region is going to be anywhere from 8 to 18 pounds.
All right, let's go offshore, Mike.
Well, easterly winds this week have really helped rejuvenate the dolphin bite close to shore, with fish being caught as shallow as 70 feet of water off of Lake Worth. The largest fish are still out deep, and there's lots of weeds out there, so don't spend more than 15 or 20 minutes on any particular weed line. If you don't get a bite, move on. As a rule, the weed lines with the most life on them right now, those will be the ones that hold the better quantities of dolphin this time of the year. Cover water by trolling ballyhoo or strip baits, and then running and gunning, looking for something good before you put out baits or, cast a live bait to a floating object. Run until you see something good and start there. If you don't find fish quickly, pick up and run again until you find something that looks like it might hold fish. Average dolphin in my region is going to be 5 to 15 pounds. Real key is going to be to move a lot. I got a photo there. That's Joel Clark. He caught that dolphin last week off Jupiter, and he was working the weeds out in 500 feet, and they were just trolling ballyhoo, doing that run and gun game. The other deal we got going, August is when the snapper moves close to shore to feed on the bait fish schools near the beach and also to feed on the hatching sea turtles. That means the shallow reefs that run parallel to the beach in 25, 40, and 65 feet of water will see the largest muttons of the year in the next 2 months. The best fishing by far will be after dark, but you can still rack up a pretty good mixed bag of muttons, mangroves, and yellowtails in places like the Sand Pile, the Peck's Lake Reef, the North Beach Reef, and the Patch Rocks out off the breakers in 60 feet of water. Pilchard, cigar minnows, Spanish sardines, and squid are all good baits. Fish them on 20 to 30 pound tackle and the lightest and longest leader you can get away with, and just enough lead to touch bottom. If you're looking strictly for mutton snapper, this is really a good time of year to drift the bottom and bounce it with a live crab on a 3/8 ounce jig head, or catch a big grunt off the reef and drop it back down with its tail cut off, just specifically looking for those big muttons.
Hey, Mike, a lot of the rain has caused the floodgates to be open. Does that moving water help or hurt the bass fishing?
It's kind of interesting. It depends on the fish. For the peacocks, which that's really been sort of the hot bite, all that hot water we had has really been good for targeting the peacock in the South Florida canals, but the moving water in areas where it's moving really fast has not been good. We want to look for the slow-moving water around the culverts. Early in the morning, there's good numbers of fish around the bridges, the culverts, or anywhere you can find that slow-moving water. Look for schooling fish blowing up along the shorelines. The C2, C4, C8, C9, and C100 canals are on fire right now, as is the Lake Ida, Lake Osborne chain. The larger fish are working the edges of the box-cut canals, or they're up along the banks of those lakes. For baits, it's pretty hard to beat small topwater plugs like a tiny torpedo or a skitter pop. I know that's one of your favorite baits. Popar Jr. is another good bait. In the middle of the day, go deeper with Roadrunner jigs or lipless crankbaits with a lot of flash. Peacock bass, the thing you want to remember, they're notorious short strikers. So if you see a fish flash on your lure, reel it back in, throw it back to the same spot, and if the fish misses again, do it again until you get the fish. Eventually, it will bite if you stay on top of it. Average South Florida peacock's going to be 1 to 4 pounds this time of the year.
Great report from the Decks and Docks East region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the East region. Inshore, outgoing tide after dark in Fort Pierce Inlet for tarpon and snook. Live mullet in the mouths of the inlets for the tarpon. Jigs and pilchards along the rocks for the snook. And then offshore, sailfish, 140 to 220 feet of water just south of St. Lucie Inlet. Live threadfin, sardines, or pilchards on those temperature changes are going to catch those fish, Brie.
Okay, coming up on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report, the Keys have some promising reports, and then Harry has some promising swag for y'all to check out at the CCA workbench. Catch you on the flip side. Oh, miming.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by the Florida Keys and Key West. Come as you are. Hookup Lures, premium lures for serious anglers. FWC, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. La Jolla Resort, a place for family and fishermen. Navionics, we start where the road ends. Maverick Boat Company, celebrating 30 years of leadership in innovation, conservation, and stability. And First National Bank, your first choice for better banking.
At Yamaha, reliability is a family tradition. Meet the next generation. 4 new advanced technology-inspired inline 4-cylinder performers. Bred from the reliability and boater satisfaction that is part of Yamaha's DNA. They prove that when power gets lighter, faster, stronger, and smarter, boating gets even better. And more satisfying for boaters like you.
You know there's more to it than luck. There's fishing the right bait, the water temperature, the wind, the season, and then there's the boat. We'll put it simply, the boat matters. To own a Contender is to own the best sport fishing boat on the market, period. Contender offers the most comprehensive model range with bigger, faster, and more fuel-efficient boats than the competition. There's only one choice for serious anglers. Contender Boats. Performance through innovation.
Hey, you remember when we were hanging out last night? You know, me, you, Gail.
That's my girl.
You guys are awesome. And then you went to bed.
I was tired.
You were super tired. And then it was just me and Gail.
Mm-hmm.
Alone.
What?
Yeah! It's all in the paws. New Shadow Wrap from Rapala.
Hello, I'm Cynthia O'Connell, the Secretary of the Florida Lottery.
And I'm Guy Harvey. We're excited to partner again in support of the everyday heroes who help educate, serve, and protect all of us in the beautiful state of Florida.
And together, we will continue inspiring and supporting students in their pursuit of a brighter future and becoming tomorrow's heroes in science, art, and conservation.
So let's help more Florida students realize their dreams.
Just imagine.
Welcome back to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report. We're here at the CCA workbench, and Harry, every week we talk about new products, something that you make a living doing, selling products.
Gotta do it.
So one of the things that's come out from Akuma that's new, the Azor is certainly not new.
No.
But the Azor 40 size is new. Now this Azor 40 with the Akuma Shadow Stalker series, I like the heavy, medium to heavy action, 7-footer
series.
It's loaded up with Suffix 832, cast them out. I love it. It's just so smooth.
Great reel.
And it's a workhorse. It really is a workhorse.
Yeah, it's a good series they came out with right there. That
Great
particular
job.
model. Good job on there. All right, we have some of the new Williamson gloves. All right, these guys here, they're Velcro, so that, you know, you can adjust them on your wrist. They're super heavy duty, especially inside the palm. You know, times you take a wrap,
they're wire
on
gloves.
tarpon and stuff like that. Yeah. On the heavy leader, you're gonna feel it on a light glove. With this being real thick in this particular part in the palm of your hand, it's gonna protect you, especially on the outside over here. It's you know how that mono cinches down sometimes, and you got to hold it. Say shark fishing also, you can grab it, and these gloves are gonna hold up really, really well.
You're absolutely right.
This is something new that they've come out with. This is really super nice for ladies. This is the new rod belt. Velcro, adjustable, so you can totally put it around anybody, any size. It's totally adjustable there.
Just this way.
Yep, it's a super lightweight, comfortable belt, you know, for your inshore fishing.
What I
so
like
you get a
is
nice tarpon on permit, and you're fighting for a while. It's
the rod butt can go in there, and see how it can pull down, but it's not actually pushing very hard on the back of my hand. I like it.
Yeah.
Maybe have to get some padding, you know, along the sides if the girls are wearing their bikini, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But other than that, I think this is absolutely awesome.
Great backcountry belt. Super dude.
Harry, certainly something that's been around for a while, the Balsa Extreme minnow.
Yep, then now this is the 10 series. They came out with a brand new 7 series, which is going to be absolutely devastating to the fish. This is going to crush them. I know you're going to love that one there for sure. That's just elephants eat peanuts, and that's the peanut right there. And that one's going to be really good for the
that's
your
a
smaller
size
fish, your
7.
snook. Yep.
So as you can tell, it's really, and it comes in all the traditional Balsa Extreme colors. I love it. Real quickly, tell me about this
This is something really cool. This is called No-See-Um.
Right.
Just No-See-Um. They're inexpensive. It's a spray bottle, And the no-see-ums, I mean, smell that. It's got a great smell to it.
Oh, it's got the eucalyptus.
And let me tell you what, the no-see-ums, this stuff is awesome. And mosquitoes also.
Right.
But this stuff's great.
Well, thanks for helping us out this week.
You got
did
it.
a great job.
I'm glad to come back.
Harry, we got the new Yamaha sales event has been going on for a few weeks now. It's going to go through the end of August till August 31st. And the great part about this is that if you're thinking about repowering, there's a lot of cool incentives. There's a 5-year incentive if you're thinking about buying a horsepower between 60 horsepower and 350 in a 4-stroke. Or if you're thinking about buying a 2.5 to 50, a smaller size motor, you can get up to $300 in rebates. Go to YamahaOutboards.com and find out your local dealer, and you can find out how you can get those incentives.
Go buy a couple of them.
All right, Brie, speaking of incentives,
yes,
go ahead.
I'm an incentive. Okay, so the Keys always have it going on, but if you're looking for a permit this weekend, you're going to be the one who has it going on, and Captain Randy Tao is here to tell you how. Wow, I'm
Hey, good
rhyming
evening,
tonight.
fish fans. You know, permit in my region right now is a pretty popular fish, both on the flats and around the Keys, and also out in the Gulf wrecks and some of the backcountry flats in the back can be really good this time of year. It's calm, and we've had it really hot. You notice the temperatures are really hot and calm and slick, a lot of slick conditions, and it just makes these things really user-friendly when it's like that, and kind of easy to find them. You know, in the backcountry, especially the wrecks, talk about those. You're going to pull up to an area, and they'll be on the surface. These fish will be in big schools, and a lot of times they'll be finning, and they'll actually have their dorsal fins and their tails sticking up out of the water, and it's a pretty good mass when you see them, so it's not too hard to find them once you're approaching your wreck. But you want to be ready. That's the key. You got to have your rod ready. Got to have a crab on it. And as soon as you see that school and you're close enough, you make your cast. Now, keep in mind, if you are around some structure back there this time of year, there's some giant Goliath groupers that love eating permit. So try not to let them get you around the wreck. Talking a little closer to home, some of the flats here, we've got some good tides, and we've had some pretty decent permit fishing. The guys are mixing it up with a little bonefish, little permit when the tide's right. I've got a photo of young Donnie Bembo with Skins and Fins Charters. He caught a nice permit with his angler Hunter from Virginia.
All right, what else you got for me, bub?
Mangrove snappers. You know, here again, August, it's hot, it's calm. The mangroves are biting in the backcountry. Almost everybody I talk to, if they want to catch something for dinner, they can go into the channels, some of the white holes. Anywhere you have a little bit of water moving, now that's the key, having the water moving. You don't want to just sitting still. You're going to find these mangrove snappers, and they could be 6 inches, they could be 10 inches, 15 inches. It really depends on how you want to fish them. But a chum bag, just to get things started, will attract them close to the boat. And if you want to catch some of the bigger ones, these 15 to 20-inch ones, you're going to need some live bait like pilchards, pinfish, that sort of thing, and cast them away from the boat. Get them out of sight, and you're going to find your bigger snappers are back there. I've got a photo of Brian Williams, who does just that, fishing with Darian Domingo from Jacksonville with a 20-inch mangrove they caught on a live pinfish.
That's a nice fish. Randy, before we go offshore, I want to take a look at Navionics. Now, guys, this is a place that I know very, very well. This is Shark River, a place I've been fishing for over 30 years. And the thing I did recently is I did some sonar soundings and some chart recording. Look at the difference as we've come down the Little Shark River and we dump into Ponce Bay, the north end of Oyster Bay. The key is that I learned that a lot of these undercut banks are deeper and bigger than I thought. We look at the next map, we're looking at the north end of Oyster Bay, and as you can see, there's not a lot to it. But as soon as you overlay the sonar charts that we recorded, look at what I found. I found lots of holes, lots of impressions, and the key is now I'm starting to understand why the fish stage in the rivers where they do. All right, what else you got for us, Randy?
You know, the swordfish bite right now, August is a great time, both daytime and nighttime. Seems like more people are doing it during the day than they do at night, but still, this time of year, my favorite time to catch a swordfish. Now, you're going to want to look in 1,500 to 1,700 feet during the day. If that's what you want to do, you're going to need a heavy rod with braided line and probably 10 or 12 pounds of lead to get to the bottom. Now, a fresh strip bait like a dolphin belly or a bonita strip is ideal. And you use a strip bait because if you get a bite, sometimes you don't always get them. And that strip bait will stay on your hook a lot better, and you'll get multiple bites before you finally catch them. You know, Captain Nick Stanzik, he's one of the premier swordfish guys here. He's been catching them pretty strong. He did catch a 335-pounder last week, and he caught 4 just a couple days ago. So they're out there. I've also got a photo of a 412-pounder caught by Captain Tread Barta, Dr. Jeff Bennett, Richard Logan, Evan Goings, and Bill Chapman just the other day.
All right, quickly on the spearfish, Bub.
Spearfish, you know, it's a rare fish to catch. 34 years of fishing here. I've never caught one. Finally, the other day when we were dolphin fishing, he snuck up on us and he bit. You know, that's why I like trolling my ballyhoos when I'm looking for dolphin. You never know what you're going to find. And sometimes it's a blue marlin, a white marlin. This time it just happened to be a spearfish. A great catch. I've got a photo of Captain Skinny with Brad Good with his spearfish we caught the other day.
All right, Randy, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the La Jolla hot spots from the Florida Keys. Captain Randy says inshore mangrove snappers anchor along the side of any of the channels in the backcountry. Use a block of chum to get them started, and then fish small pinfish to catch the bigger ones. And then offshore, swordfish, 1,500 to 1,700 feet of water. Use fresh strip baits or squid on a heavy rod with braided line. Cover ground until you get the bite, Brie.
Sounds good. Well, now it's time to tell you about some tournaments in the Florida Keys. What do you think?
Tell me.
Tell you. The Robert James Sales Slam Celebrity Tournament is set for September 11th through the 13th in Key West. It is the first of 3 Keys tournaments in the annual Redbone Celebrity Tournament Series. Anglers will target tarpon, permit, and bonefish. The Key Largo and Islamorada Backcountry Roundup, set for September 11th through the 13th, features the opportunity to find snook, redfish, and trout in the Upper Keys. There are cash prizes, and proceeds are to benefit the Wounded Warrior Project. The Lionfish Derby for Divers is set for September 12th in Key Largo and features cash and merchandise prizes for divers who successfully remove invasive lionfish from Keys waters. The contest awards for most, largest, and smallest lionfish. The Herman Lucerne Memorial Tournament, scheduled for September 18th through the 20th in Islamorada, distinguishes the overall grand champion as an individual angler who catches at least 4 of the 7 eligible species, including black drum, bonefish, redfish, snook, snapper, tarpon, and sea trout. Maverick Boat Company Florida Owners Tournament is set for September 24th through the 27th in Islamorada. This Keys tournament is a staple and it goes on through the 29th. Oh, it's on for the 29th straight year.
That's right.
Wow, that's a long time, Rick. That's almost as old as you are.
Almost.
You're 28. All right, this is a family fun event for Maverick, Hughes, Pathfinder, and Cobia owners and their guests. That sounds like a lot of fun.
It will be.
All right, now let's hear from our trusty correspondent in the Florida Keys, Andy Newman.
Hi guys! Celebrating its golden anniversary, the Key West Fishing Tournament continues through November 30th in the Lower Keys and Key West. The tournament has awarded more than 50,000 citations to anglers around the world. Now, the 8-month-long competition is free to enter. There are 37 different species of fish that are eligible in men, women, junior, and even peewee divisions. Catches and witness releases can be registered at several tackle stores in the Lower Keys and Key West. More details are at keywestfishingtournament.com, and more information on other tournaments in the Florida Keys can be seen at flakeys.com. Back to you in the studio.
Do you want to get away to the Florida Keys? Go to our Facebook page and enter to win a 4-night stay at the Postcard Inn in Islamorada and fishing trip with our very own Captain Randy Tao. We will announce the winner September 4th right here on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report. What do you think about that?
I think it's great.
All right, well, we're not permitting you to leave just yet because we still have the Northeast and Panhandle region reports only on the Chevy Florida
Insider Fishing Report.
There you have it.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Rapala. Catch the latest at Rapala.com. Startron. Cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems. Yeti Coolers. Built for the wild. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 30 years. Strike Zone Fishing, your fish hunt paddle store. Guy Harvey, marine wildlife artist and conservationist. And Sea Sucker, vacuum mounting systems.
Serious fishermen demand quality equipment on their boats and on shore. That's why Florida boaters have trusted Decks and Docks for over 20 years for dock lumber, hardware, and accessories. Tough products that stand up to the roughest environments, and elegance to please the most discerning homeowner tastes. Decks and Docks, supplying waterfront customers with lumber, decking, and seawall, with 10 locations across Florida.
When we created the Silverado Rally Edition, we figured, why stop there? These 4 new Silverado Special Editions are just the beginning. From the fastest growing full-size pickup brand of 2015, Chevy's Silverado. Or choose the Silverado All-Star with a total value of $8,000 when you finance through select lenders. And find your bonus tag and get $2,000 cash allowance on select Silverado crew cabs in stock.
We're here at Power Pole headquarters, and today's Power Pole tip of the week is about the foot switches. Now, the thing I like about these waterproof switches is simply that I can control the power pole and keep it hands-free while I continue to fish. Now remember, we can have 10 sets of switches in different parts of the boat. I can have them up on my casting platform, I can have them on the bow of my Pathfinder, I can have them in the back. So no matter where I am, I can have more control over what my boat's doing. Now the other thing that I like is that I can actually make it go up just a little bit. If I want to make small moves in little increments, this allows me to do that. But when I'm ready to go and get onto a new spot, by simply pushing the button twice, it's going to have soft close system and keep it nice and quiet for you guys in the technical poling skiff. So remember, the foot switches as a great option for upgrading your power pole, and that's today's Power Pole tip of the week.
Such a good tip. If you're from the Northeast region, listen up to Captain Tommy Derringer, who has the weekend report right now. Hi, Tommy.
Hey, guys. You know, the Strike Zone Northeast region really isn't known as a hot spot for permit, but believe it or not, we do have a few that show themselves from time to time. You know, I spoke to Dave Gill. He's an expert surf fisherman in the area, and he tells me that there are some anglers that target permit in the region right along the beaches, and although most are caught while targeting other species, there are some big ones out there in the surf. Now, a small blue crab on a fish finder rig would be the go-to, but some are caught just on shrimp as well. Now, the sandbars just outside Nassau Sound and Matanzas Inlet are going to be some of the more popular spots you're going to want to look for them. Now, the pompano, which is the permit's real close cousin, is a fish that's more frequently caught in our region, and the pompano can be caught year-round, but the early spring and late fall are pretty much the best times of year to get those guys. Live sand fleas, clams, and blue crab are going to be the best baits for those pompano, and if you're out there trying to catch them, you probably have a decent chance of getting a permit as well. Now, I've got a picture here that Noel Kuhn from the surfangler.com sent me. This is Tony Unin with a big permit he caught while surf fishing right there in Jacksonville Beach. Now, Noel tells me most of those bigger permit are caught during the warmer summer months in the surf, which is about this time of year. Now, also offshore, even though the mangrove snapper bite tends to taper off a little bit this time of year, they are still going pretty strong in our region. I spoke with Captain Billy Hunsicker from EndlessSummerCharters.com, and he tells me that they've been catching somewhere between 10 to 20 good-sized mangrove snapper on their charter trips this week. Now, Billy is finding most of his mangoes on the higher profile spots and on the bigger ledges in about 100 to 150 feet. Now, he's catching them on a fairly light, long fluorocarbon leader in about the 40-pound class, and if the current isn't really ripping, he's going to chum them up to the surface using chunk sardines for both the chum and for the bait. Now, Billy told me that they are going to taper off a little more over the next month, but most of the fish they're catching are still spawning in full of roe. Those mangrove snapper are averaging a big 8 to 10 pounds right now, with a couple of trip even up to about 12 pounds. And I got a picture of Captain Billy with a nice pair of mangrove snapper. And those are both well over 10 pounds each.
Yes, they are. All right, let's go inshore, Tommy.
All right, you know, this weekend we've got a great tide to toss a topwater skidder walk inshore, and the redfish are going to be hungry. Now, there's a bunch of bait around, and if you find a good concentration of that bait, you can bet the reds are going to be in the same areas. I spoke with Captain Ron Scher from FishingNorthFlorida.com, and he tells me he's been catching some nice redfish on those topwaters early in the AM on that higher tide in the Mill Cove area. Now, he's fishing the grass lines and over the oyster bars and looking for the bait concentrations, and specifically the bait that's getting busted or looking really nervous. Now, Captain Ron also says later in the day on the lower tide stage, the reds have been chewing good from the White Shell area all the way to the Dames Point in the St. Johns River. Now, he's been using a live shrimp on a heavy jig head, and he's targeting eddies, docks, and the underwater structure in the area. Now, Ron says that the reds have also been crawling around in some really skinny water on the first of the incoming tide back in the Hannah Mills and the Clapboard areas. His clients have been able to sight fish some nice backing fish using a mud minnow and a jig head combo. Now, there have also been some bull reds caught in the region here lately, and there's a ton of bait at all the inlets, mostly big mullet right now, and those reds are in there eating those mullet up. You're going to want to fish the bottom with a fish finder rig around the slack tides with a live or a cut mullet at both at the St. Augustine Inlet, the Mayport Inlet, or the usual St. Johns River spots, and you're going to find a few bull reds to tug on. I got a cool picture here. This is Byron Boston with a really cool-looking redfish he caught with Captain Ron Scher.
That's a beautiful fish, Tommy. All right, tell me about the tarpon.
You know, the water temperature along our beach, it's been changing daily. It's been up one day and down the next, but the tarpon are really hanging in there. Now, I mentioned the big mullet schools at all the inlets, and those tarpon are in those mullet schools, especially early in the morning and at dusk. Now, they're also getting fired up right after some of these afternoon thunderstorms that we tend to have this time of year. Now, the pogies are also still pretty thick along the beach, especially a few miles north of the Volano Inlet in St. Augustine and just outside Matanzas Inlet. The tarpon have been feeding on those pogies as well. Just look for the busting fish, and again, that's an early morning or a dusk bite. Now, we've been having the best luck hooking up by just free-lining a live mullet or pogie right along the edges of those bait schools. Those tarpon are averaging about 50 pounds, but there are some monsters in there over 150 pounds.
All right, great report from the Strike Zone Northeast region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots. Inshore, redfish at daybreak throughout the entire region on the high tide along the grass lines. Toss bone or trout-colored skidder walks where the concentration of bait are. And then offshore, mangrove snappers in 100 to 150-foot depths target higher profile reefs and wrecks along the bigger ledges. Chum with sardines when the current isn't too strong to get them to come to the top.
Okay, now we're moving on to the Panhandle region with Captain Pat Deneen. What do we have to look forward to this weekend, Pat?
Hey, Brie, I tell you, permit aren't really up here to target, but what we do have to target right now is king mackerels, and there's plenty of them. I spoke with Captain BJ Teams on the reeling scripts out of Destin, and BJ's been tearing up the kings, fishing over natural bottom 20 or so miles south of Destin in 160 to 200 feet of water. But just the last couple of days, the bites really turned on much better than it has in that 60 to 90 feet of water, always over structure or around the bait schools, generally over some natural bottom. Live cigar minnows, herrings, blue runners are all great baits. You can either free line them down current behind the boat while you're holding up bottom fishing, or you can slow troll over these ledges. Use a stinger hook rig with the top hook through the bait's nose and the other dangling close to the tail. And if you're trolling and a bite on the top slows down, put a trolling lead well up above the bait, or better yet, if you have downriggers fishing mid-water behind the downrigger. Kings are running up to 20 pounds, and there have also been quite a few wahoo caught by guys targeting the king mackerels lately, so that's definitely a possibility. And then once you get your kings, the amberjack bite's been real good. You want to target the jacks over the metal wrecks at the same depth as those kings at 160 to 200 foot of water, or even some of those deeper wrecks, 250 plus feet of water is often where the biggest jacks come from. But with that being said, there's been a lot of them caught near shore over some of the public spots like the Oriskany, the Tinaco rig, and also on some of the barges just off the beach in 75 to 80 feet of water. The key is using a nice lively bait on a long leader, a threadfin herring, a blue runner, or even a small bonita if you can keep them alive. All make really great amberjack baits because they swim hard and they're real active. And when you hook up with a jack, make sure you have one or two more rods actively fishing while you're fighting that fish, because that fighting fish fires up the bite and you can often get another fish on or even another fish on. And the jacks are running up to 40 or 50 pounds, and it's it's been pretty consistent.
Let's go inshore, Pat.
Rick, the redfish report comes from Captain Sean Chalker of bar hopping charters over in Indian Pass. And Captain Sean's been doing real well all week targeting redfish behind St. Vincent Island and Apalachicola Bay. Sean's finding them on the oyster bars and the grassy shoreline. Sean's been seeing a lot of shrimp flipping lately, and he thinks all these shrimp moving around have got the reds turned on. So use a popping cork baited with a live shrimp or a DOA shrimp or a light jig head with a soft plastic. Or if you want to go with a Johnson spoon or a soft plastic spoon combination will work really well in that off-colored water. The reds are mainly nice middle to upper slot size fish. And when you get a bite, drop your power pole or anchor and camp out in that area and work it really hard. You're likely to catch more fish. There's a photo of Gary Gaziano, and that's a really nice, healthy redfish he caught and released it to be caught another day.
All right. What else you got for us, bub?
Finally, Rick, inshore, Captain Wes Rozier over in Pensacola reports a really good Spanish mackerel bite in Big Lagoon. The best bite is early in the morning before the sea breeze kicks up or late in the afternoon as it dies off a bit. Target the deeper grass flat edges where the shallow flats roll down into the channels and also the points. Always pay attention and look for like small baits like pilchards or even diving terns, the birds. But most of these Spanish are the big loners cruising along, so there's not a lot of schooling fish. Wes has been using pink 7M mirror lures and chartreuse chug bugs. And the Spanish are running 4 to 6 pounds. There's a photo there of Brian Bullock, and that's a really big, nice, fat Spanish he caught, obviously just after sunset or right at sunset. Pretty dark background.
All right, thank you so much, Pat Tar. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the blue water outrigger hotspots from the Panhandle region, inshore mangrove snapper in Pensacola Bay on the residential docks with at least 6 feet of water using a live shrimp and light leader. And then offshore, make a long run to the loop current in the Mississippi River Rip near the independent hub for billfish and other blue water pelagics.
Okay, next up we have the Coastal Conservation Minute Tip and then visiting our last captain in the Central East region right here on the Chevy Florida Insider
Fishing Report.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Chevrolet, find new roads. Yamaha, reliability starts here. Suffix, the world's most hardcore fishing line. The IGFA, conservation through education. Get your hands wet. Florida Outdoor Experience. Captain Harry's Fishing Supply Company. Best parts, best prices. Bennett Auto Supply. And there's no stopping Okuma.
Introducing Helmmaster, Yamaha's first fully integrated digital boat control system. With Helmmaster, you can start your outboards with a swipe of a paw and control them with a single lever. Outboard trim and steering friction adjust automatically as you accelerate and decelerate. Adjust engine speed with the touch of a button. The Helmmaster joystick provides the means to navigate and dock precisely with confidence and ease. Take control of your next vessel with Helmmaster at your command.
There's no specials on days like today. Nothing's cheap. Nothing's on the house. You can have your happy hour, but only after you've paid the full price.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore.
Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with StarTron.
There are 2 cages in this room. The one on your right is made out of high-strength steel, and the other is made of aluminum. Now I'm gonna release a 700-pound grizzly bear into the room, so you better pick a cage and get in it.
This is crazy. Oh my goodness. Ooh.
Why did you pick the steel cage?
Harder for the bear to get in than steel.
You wanna see something else made with high-strength steel? That's the Chevy Silverado, made with high-strength steel for high-strength dependability.
Beautiful. This is highly irregular.
Today's Costa Conservation Minute is about the best photo practices. Now think about it this way, guys. When you're out on the water and you got that fish of a lifetime, you want to make sure you have a plan on what's best to take that picture. Now leaving him in the water is certainly something that's more preferred, like a tarpon or a sailfish, because when the fish is in his natural environment, he really looks good and you get a lot of brilliant colors that way. But more importantly, have a plan. If you're gonna use your cell phone, make sure the passcode is turned off and it's ready to go. If you're gonna use it, make sure the camera case is unlocked, you have your camera out, and more importantly, while you're fighting the fish, discuss the pose that you're going to use in order to minimize the amount of time that the fish is out of the water. This is gonna be better for you as well as the fish, and I hope that you take a world-class photo, and that's today's Costa Conservation Minute. You know, Brie, the most important part of that Costa Conservation message to me is to keep the fish in the water.
Yes.
The grip and grin, it's kind of getting old. So I think if we can come up with some new cool ways to shoot the fish in the water, specifically underwater like we're doing now, it can really be.
Under-over pictures
exactly.
is really cool.
Half and half.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool.
Learned so much from you, Rick.
Thanks, Brie.
Okay, not only does the Central East region have permit, but Captain Jim Ross says we have options, and I love options. So let's hear it, Jim.
Well, yeah, we do, guys. We sure do. We got two different sizes of permit in my part of the state. You've got those smaller beach fish, or surf fish as we call them. And, of course, they're found spring through fall whenever the water temperatures get above about 73 or 74 degrees normally. Although every once in a while you will find them a little colder than that. But the other fish, the adults, they hang out on our nearshore wrecks most of the time. And every once in a while they'll venture to the beach, too. And I've got a specific spot that you can look for them. Now, as far as those smaller fish go, anglers targeting pompano with crabs and sand fleas and pompano jigs are the ones that typically catch our smaller permit. And those fish are often mixed in with the pompano right outside the surf break. But, you know, when you look at them, they've got a noticeably different head shape, and they typically have that dark pec fin to help kind of distinguish them from the permit. Now, the larger adults are found on the wrecks and reefs like they are in many other parts of the state between Sebastian and Canaveral. Now, you typically only see these fish in the summertime, and it's really tough to catch them because they typically use small crabs or eat small crabs. And we don't get a lot of small crabs in my region around in the bait stores like we do down in the Keys and stuff. So it's a lot harder to find the proper bait to actually catch them with. But those bigger fish are feeding on crabs, and if you can get crabs, like on an outgoing tide scenario at Sebastian Inlet, that's when you can find good places, or good places to actually dip those baits. And oftentimes in Sebastian Inlet, you're going to find those fish coming in there to feed with the redfish and the jacks and the other fish that get in there. So you can catch them at Sebastian on certain tides, outgoing tides in particular, throughout the summer months. Now, most of our fish that are smaller are on the beach. They're 2 to 7 pounds or so. And most of our inlet or wreck fish are anywhere from about 10 or 12 up to about 30 pounds. Now, the second species that I've got this week is the redfish. And, of course, we catch plenty of redfish, in this part of the region. Right now, they're hitting pretty early, though. So you need to be out early and get off the water by about 10:30 or so. Soft plastic jerkbaits, the saltwater assassin one in particular, the 5-inch shad or the 4-inch paddletail in the watermelon with a red flake or the albino color seems to be working really good, especially if you're fishing in the northern Indian River or the Mosquito Lagoon. The down towards Sebastian, a little bit brighter colors. Salt and pepper with the chartreuse tail seems to be working pretty good. And, of course, a live shrimp tipped on a hookup jig head where you're sight casting the fish, especially those ones that are holding in the potholes on the east side of the Mosquito Lagoon. That's a great way to catch them as well. And if you use the little 1/8 or 1/4 ounce models, try the white, the tan, or the black, and put a little shrimp on there, and you should do pretty good. Spray them with some bang shrimp scent or some bang crab scent. That's hard for me to say sometimes. And you should catch a lot more fish than you will without it because the water's a little dirty right now, and that extra scent really helps them key in on it. Now, you can use some weedless spoons, and you can also use some other small jigs and shiny things like that. But I tell you, those two that I mentioned are really the best. And the redfish right now are running from about 2 to 6 pounds.
Let's go offshore, bub.
Offshore, we have got king mackerel. The kings have turned back on. Our water temperatures are starting to stabilize a little bit, and the guys are having fun on the 70 to 90-foot reefs. That's where you're going to find a lot of sardine schools and things of that nature that the kingfish are feeding on. Now, in particular, sardines and glass minnows this week have been the places to find those kingfish, and if you find the big pods inshore in the 30 to 60-foot depth, you're going to find kingfish there as well. Now, the schooling kings on those pods are cruising and feeding throughout the day, so it's not a specific bite at, say, daybreak and dark. You can catch them all day long. And right now, the pines, the north end of Pelican Flats, and the shoals off of the Cape, all the way up to Bethune Beach, seem to be the best places to find the kings. Most of them are running from about 10 to about 18 pounds, but we've got some bigger fish, especially on the north end of Pelican Flats right now. They're running 25 to 30 pounds in some cases. Now, there's other fish out there as well, and I've got a photo of Robin Melliger. He has got a great shot with a Rapala lure shoved down a bonita's throat. There are tons and tons of bonitas right now, so don't overlook that species. Kind of a little bonus while you're out there if you want to cast to something that's going to burn your drag.
All right, tell us about the snappers, Bub.
Last species of the night, 60 to 120-foot depth is where you're going to want to find them. You want to try and get your 5-fish limit. If you're going to do that, then you want to try and chum them up. That's the best way to get those fish fired up. Use some float baits, like little cut baits floating back in the current. Live baits haven't been working as good. Most of the guys that are catching the fish are chumming heavily and getting those fish up and using little tiny hooks and little pieces of bait. Now, I tell you, we've got this full moon coming, or this new moon coming this weekend, and you're probably going to find that the larger wrecks in my region are holding the bigger fish right now. Look for fish in the 2 to 5 pound range on the reefs, but look for the fish up to 10 pounds on some of those bigger wrecks in those parts of the state.
Hey, Jim, got a question for you. You know that tannic water you talked about from the rain that you're getting? You know, has it affected the redfish and the trout equally, or one or the other more than the other?
No, the blooms that we were getting have affected the trout more than anything because they pushed them out of the flats and onto the drop-offs. The redfish are still up on the flats, but you just have to really be tight to the banks to be able to see them because the water real tight to the bank still has some clarity to it.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the hookup lure hotspots from the Central East region. Inshore, snook and redfish in the Sebastian Inlet, free-line live pilchards or greenies on the outgoing tide. And then offshore, kingfish, 35 to 80-foot depths using baits on wire stinger rigs. Brie?
One or the other, more than the other. Okay, the weekend reports are in, but don't you want to hear what we're fishing for next week? Don't you want to hear? Because I do.
I do.
All right, well, stay tuned. We'll be right back on the Chevy Florida Insider Report.
Nice. Chevy's got 3 great deals to choose from this summer. Which works the best with your budget?
I'm drawn to the 0%.
$1,000 cash back. I've never ever thought about leasing a car until I saw that deal.
Which one's your favorite?
0%.
$1,000 always looks nice going in my pocket.
Sorry, I changed my mind.
Now let me tell you something that's super cool. You can choose any one of these deals on any of these cars.
Seriously? It's gorgeous, man. This is a nice car.
Oh, I like this stitching.
It's an easy choice. Find your tag and choose your deal for an extra summer bonus.
Yeah, this thing's pretty sweet.
I got my first Yamaha in 1994, and I still use that outboard in the Bahamas today. This Yamaha 130 has over 2,000 hours on it, and it sometimes sits for 6 months. I can always depend on it starting and performing like it did when it was new. Everybody knows Yamaha stakes their reputation on reliability, and for me, that Yamaha 130 is living proof. So if you're considering a Yamaha, I can tell you that reliability and performance is something that you can count on for a long time.
Hello, I'm Cynthia O'Connell, the Secretary of the Florida Lottery.
And I'm Guy Harvey. We're excited to partner again in support of the everyday heroes who help educate, serve, and protect all of us in the beautiful state of Florida.
And together we will continue inspiring and supporting students in their pursuit of a brighter future and becoming tomorrow's heroes in science, art, and conservation.
So let's help more Florida students realize their dreams.
Just imagine.
Thanks for tuning in to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram and Twitter to keep up with our captains, contests, and appearances. You never have to miss a show. You can find full episodes of the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report right on your YouTube channel. And make sure to check out our website for fishing reports in your region. Visit www.ChevyFloridaInsiderFishingReport.com for everything you need to know to stay hooked up. Next week on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report, it's all about wahoo! Be sure to tune in to Sun Sports every Thursday. Plus, you can catch repeats of the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report on Fridays and Saturdays. Check your local listings for times. Wow, Rick.
You know, Brie, the cool part about bringing the boss from Costa in is sometimes he brings me special things.
Like these?
Look at these. Al, tell us everybody about these.
Those frames are new. They're called Rooster. They've got some cool removable side shields on them. They won Best in Show at ICAST this past year.
Nice.
Yeah, they look good on you, man.
Yeah, man.
Right.
I think you've lost these permanently. Just saying.
Permanently?
Permanently.
I got you guys. Got
So,
you.
Harry, thank you for filling in for
Great
Dave.
to be
You
here
did
as
great
usual. Had a
job.
good time.
I learned so much from you
That was
tonight.
great.
These koozies and these corks and stuff.
Yeah,
man.
I know,
That's
huh?
so neat.
How to do all that good
now
stuff.
Brie even has more of a reason to be quirky.
Oh, but for sure.
What?
Definitely.
What is that?
A
All
little
right,
spongy.
guys. What? I was going to tell them to make
Tell
sure
them
they
about the keys,
hashtag.
if you'd like.
In the keys, hashtag Kafifra and all your photos. Post on Instagram, on Facebook. We'll repost them. And then the keys is coming up.
Yeah,
which
we
is really
got a
excited.
live remote
Live
September
remote.
2nd. Come down to the postcard inn in Isla Morada.
He'll
Come
be
see
there.
me.
I won't, but he'll be there.
It'll be lots
I'll
of
be
fun,
here.
I promise.
All
We'll be
right,
giving
let's
away
whip a
lot of
nay-nay
cool
out, guys. Whip a nay-nay.
Nay-nay, is this it?
We can do it.